to vote on the compressor. All right, so the audio's live. Everybody ready? All right. Call the meeting to order. We'll have Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Simpson. Flag is back in the corner.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Tim. All right. First on we'll start off with some good news. Mr. Hilderly.
Thank you. Typically you wouldn't talk necessarily about homecoming. It's fairly run of the mill each year. But there were some things that happened this year that I just wanted to thank and congratulate the high school administration and staff. First of all, we canceled so many things in last school year and then had to put them back together thoughtfully this year so that they could happen. And then the weather came in and messed with all of those plans. And they had plans for different contingencies and of the big three things, the game, the dance, and the parade. Friday of homecoming, we're able to play the game, obviously, and had the dance. And then we had to make some adjustments, and we canceled the parade because of the weather. But then they put together a version of the parade here on the campus the following Monday. And I know that the students especially appreciated it. Obviously, the community didn't get to experience it nearly as much as the kids did, but it is about the students. So the fact that the staff went out of their way to organize, reorganize, and then revision all of those activities, we were just very happy that all the things got to come together, and everybody, I think, enjoyed each part of those things. So thank you to the high school administration and your staff and all the people and all the work that went into those things. I attended a few of the events, all the way from Powder Puff through the week, some of the spirit things that the students were able to do. And the game, even though there was rain early in the evening, very well attended, not only by the community, but by the students as well. And then even after the storms went through, everybody stayed through. And, it was an unfortunate outcome, but the activities itself went very well. And then one more thing. The athletic department highlighted the achievements of the 1991 team that made it to the state semifinals and had a kind of a banquet tent set up for individuals and their families. Very well attended. I think that there was 31 out of 34 that that responded and came back, some from a distance, to be a part of that, and I received a very nice email from one of them thanking the efforts of the district and John and the athletic department for putting that together. So good feelings from the homecoming festivities, and didn't get to do it last year, so I thought it was worth mentioning.
Awesome. Thank you. It is great news to see people working hard and the kids having some fun, because we need that, right? All right. Next is a public comment on agenda items. Do we have anyone here who wants to comment on agenda items? All right. We'll move on to agenda revisions. Do we have any revisions? I believe we do.
Yeah.
Davis.
I would like to add discussion and vote on the Sutton compressors. We brought that forward to the board previously through the facilities committee, I think 2 meetings ago. Mr. Hawkins went back and got quotations as requested. So he has a recommendation in order to keep that 30-day timeline.
Okay, so we've had discussion. Do we need to have more discussion, or are we just ready to go to action items?
I think it's important to at least review under
Okay.
discussion.
So we'll have a
the new
discussion
results.
on the
Well, we have one more bid too.
Well, we got
We have 4 total bids.
Yeah.
compressors and the pneumatic as well
Yeah, they're together.
together. So we'll have a discussion on that, and then we'll have because we've already had a discussion, so we're gonna get an update, and then we're gonna go ahead and vote on it, because we've already discussed it. We told him to go get more bids, and he has, and he's gonna tell us what those are, and then we'll vote, okay? We'll take action. Sutton. Compressors. All right, are there any other additions or corrections? If not, I'll accept the do I have to vote on adding that?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll accept the motion to add it first.
I move to add the discussion and vote on Sutton compressors to tonight's agenda.
Support.
Any comment on that? All right, roll call vote. It's been moved and seconded to add the discussion for the Sutton compressor and pneumatic controls. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion is carried. We're adding that to the agenda. Now if there's no other revisions, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and seconded to support the current agenda. We'll have a roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Chair votes aye. The agenda is approved. Scheduled reports. I'll let Rick talk about that. We're making great progress.
Right. Well, the strategic plan initiative has officially kicked off with 2 meetings today. Our administrators and directors met with the facilitators from MASB this afternoon, and the board just finished a workshop with the same facilitators. We will continue with student and staff and community input sessions on Thursday this week. There will be follow-up on the 9th of November for all of those groups in a virtual setting. And the next step will be to send out a survey link to the community and our families to get input. And as we heard tonight from the facilitators, that's really the major source of input that we'll gather information from. And then there will be a workshop all day on Saturday, January 22nd, to pull everything together, and will culminate in the vision, mission, beliefs, and goals that will go forward in the strategic plan. So nice kickoff today, good start. Keep that momentum rolling and get the plan worked out before spring break.
So, thanks, Rick. I just want to comment. I want to make it. We mentioned the last meeting, it was mentioned in the paper that if there's any community members that want to be part of this, please let us know. And we have had one community member step forward and ask to be added to the list, and that's great. We love it when people are ready, willing, and able to help us figure this out. And so, and I just want to say again, if you want to participate, if you're out there and you want to participate, let us know. We'd love to have you. Does anybody from the board have any questions or anything? I mean, on this, I think we're trying to keep you all up to date. We had a good session just an hour ago, so I feel like we're up to date, but I just want to make sure we are. Agreed? Everyone's good?
Yep.
All right, thanks, Rick. Finance report.
Good evening, board. In your packet should be the financial reports for the month of September. Cash on hand as of September 30th for all funds is $10,915,484.74. The checks for accounts payable for the month of September were $801,069.92. Revenue from July 1st through September 30th, all funds again, is $9,617,975.50. Total expenditures for that same period is $6,262,958.60. Also included in your packet is the comparative revenue and expenditure reports comparing 2021 versus 2022. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Kelly, does the 2022 include any ESSER funds in the income?
It does in the budget, but not in any spending yet.
In the $30 million, there's extra dollars there, correct?
Correct.
So how much have we drawn so far?
Well, and I'll back up. So ESSER 1 funds were expended in full last year. So we're now working on our ESSER 2 money. Hardly any of that has been touched. However, we have started to expend some of the additional state funds we received last year. This was the 23R funds.
Thank you.
It's amazing when you look at these numbers that, I mean, how big of effect COVID had on spending. I mean, there's only, just a significantly less amount spent last year. So you tend to look at these numbers and you think, oh my gosh, we're spending a lot. But you can start looking where it's at. It's things you just didn't do. Transportation, right? We didn't have transportation up till now this year. So I don't know how much time, these numbers are published on our website, right?
They will be part of the minutes.
Yeah, part of the minutes. So if you see that, I guess just taking that into account, if you looked at this, you're thinking, oh, we're spending like wild, but a lot of it has to do with just the situation we were in.
Correct.
So you feel good about the budget? You feel good about where we're at?
I do.
All right, good, thank you. Any questions? Any other questions? Awesome, thanks, Kelly. Budget committee, Trustee Brooks.
So we had some good discussion in the budget committee. We have allocated funds for a few new positions. I don't know if Mr. Hurley wants to talk about that or not.
Which?
Budget, new positions you're allocating for.
Okay, so we have, you
Wasn't
talking
sure if
about
we
the?
could share or not, so.
Yeah, not at this point, but I mean, in general, we have positions in the maintenance budget that I know Mr. Hawkins worked with Mrs. Glenn to kind of reorganize that department and maybe put more money on the table for new hires, and that's ongoing. But yeah, that's all I can report about right now.
I think in general, we could say that our count was over projected, right? Over what we projected.
It was
We-
more than we projected.
We did.
Correct.
The head count, which doesn't equal the full-time equivalency, but the head count was 10 students higher than what was projected. So we will know that number by the next time the budget committee meets, so that we can see how it adjusts the budget.
So I think what that's done is it's give us an opportunity to look at other places. Maybe we can do some things that we didn't feel like we had money for when we did the original budget. So getting new students in, bringing students in is good because it allows us to do more for the and I think that's what you've been spending some time on. And maybe some of those positions is what you referenced, right?
Right, yeah, apparently we can't put them out there just yet.
Yeah. But this committee does a lot of looking and a lot of what ifing, and I appreciate that. That's and the budget will be presented when, the 8th or the 22nd?
The budget revision, we're talking about the second meeting in
Second meeting in
November.
November. So by then we'll have most of those worked out and we'll be able to share with some excitement some of the great things we're going to try to get done for the rest of the school year. Anything else?
Nope.
Thanks. All right, facilities and grounds.
Yeah, so we walked through a few things. One, just update on the sculpture garden. So we gave direction to Mr. Hawkins to go and get additional quotes so that we would have multiple quotes for the walls. HVAC project, we talked through that. Mike joined us. He's going to put a capital plan for the next 3 years, focusing first on boilers, then rooftop variable units, building controls, pool, and then building envelope upgrades. So hopefully we'll start to see that. I believe you all met with Pulse today as the kickoff for the energy savings report. And then we talked through, and I apologize, just the Sutton compressors, not the pneumatics. So we'll be speaking only on Sutton compressors. And we went through the bids with Mr. Hawkins. There was a lot of variation between the bids and a lot of questions about that. So we instructed Mr. Hawkins to go out and get a fourth bid to try to confirm which one in the spectrum maybe was the most viable from a cost perspective. And that's what we will review this evening.
Good. Was there a timing on the HVAC plan, the capital plan for Mike? Is that something we think we'll get this calendar year? Or?
I believe so, yes. He'll provide us an update at every facilities committee meeting.
Okay, lots of anticipation there. I mean, we think we can save some money, right?
He's working on a 2 or 3 year, a multi-year plan and how.
Mike is,
how to
well,
implement
Lynn can answer, but yeah, he's working on a 3-year plan,
Three-year
right?
capital plan.
Capital plan to upgrade the facilities, HVAC facilities. Anybody else? Questions? Policy committee. We did have a change. The policy committee decided they wanted to have just a little change, and so Tim has taken over as the chair for that. So Tim?
Thanks, Suzanne.
I know. Go ahead, Tim. I broke my phone. I can't do it.
So we met with Mr. Ray Davis from Troon Law Firm. They're our attorneys, and they do the same thing that Neola does as far as board policies and so forth. But it seems like we should probably, I mean, it wasn't an official recommendation, but we should probably switch to Troon's policies. And the reason being is because essentially every time something comes up, Mr. Hilderly has to call Mr. Davis, and Mr. Davis says, well, what does your policy say? And they go to the policy. Well, it doesn't coincide with what Mr. Davis's policy would have said, which would have covered us. So there's a lot of kind of gray area in our policies. And I think it's because Neola doesn't have a lot of experience in litigating these kind of issues as compared to what Troon does. So I don't remember what he said it was to switch over to them. I think there was I know there was a $2,500 a year fee,
Right.
which we have with Neola, I think is $3,000. But
Yeah, we haven't put all the costs together yet.
okay.
I mean, we asked for that, for some of it. We have some of the costs, but we wanted to compare it with
The board book.
what we already been paying, right?
So, and then we were also looking at another product that's called Board Book that goes with it. So all the policies would be on there, all the agendas would be on there, in one central spot where everything would be, instead of currently where it's all over the place. So there's different access levels where in the board book where just board members would have access to documents, general public would have access to agendas and so forth. So it would be a lot more organized than what we have here and probably help the staff out as well to get things more organized and timely, and Kelly could drop things in there and you're not having to wait for Kelly and so forth. And so, but I don't know if you got cost on all that yet or not. Rick.
And then
So,
size-wise,
size-wise.
I think he said it was like half the size as our current
Yeah.
volume-wise,
Yeah,
so
right.
half of
He
the,
was able to streamline it,
Right.
seemed like a lot of the
Right.
Neola and make them into more manageable,
right.
defendable, workable things.
How long have they had this? Do you know?
Well, he said they were beginning to develop it, I think in, he said 09, say 09? Yeah, 09, or was it 99?
It was 2009. They've been working for years to put it together, and they finished it in 2019.
So it's just been something they've been marketing for since
They've
then.
only been marketing for
Yeah.
a couple of years now.
But the nice thing is, they see everything that goes on in districts because they've had to probably litigate all of it. And,
Sure.
And, they cover most of it to keep you out of the hot water. So,
All right, so, I guess we're gonna have a discussion item on that in a minute.
and I think it'll save attorney fees. Because
Right.
you'll have confidence in your policy when you go to it, knowing that your
Attorney wrote it.
attorney wrote it. So,
Okay. Thank you. Anything else from the policy committee? Chipped in. Good. All right, discussion items. Rick, you want to cover that?
Yeah, we had a nice donation specific to a classroom teacher of $850 for the purchase of Stacy Kleinow's classroom. She is one of our special education teachers at the high school. Dennis, do you know anything more specific about what the use is?
Yeah, so she's trying to work with her students to develop higher level math skills within the special ed program. And these calculators, way more advanced than what they have now. And they're looking to use those to better prepare them for the SAT test that they will be taking with accommodations. So these are calculators that will help them do that. So.
Okay.
This looked like something she went to them and asked for a grant type thing when they.
Anybody can, we have a youth service committee with Kiwanis, and anybody can, submit something like TYT does it. If you remember last year, instead of doing dictionaries, we gave some money, I don't know, for some tot spots and things we needed. So yes, if there is a need and we look it over as a Kiwanis club and our people on that committee to review and see if we can, we might not have been able to give her the whole amount, but we were able to give her a sizable amount toward it.
All right. Any other questions on that? All right. Tim, back at you on the policy. I guess where do you see the timeline here for this?
They said, I think it was a 4-hour time slot to go through the first section and another 4-hour time slot for the policy committee to go through that. So, I mean, we're probably, maybe by the end of the year, probably end of January, we could be done with it.
So are you gonna evaluate that before you come to us? Because there's obviously a charge for this, right?
There is.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So at some point, will the board have to approve this change? So are you gonna do some review all that stuff before? What's the timeline for this? A, approving and B, implementing.
Well, I think before the board policy committee can go through the selection process, I think the board has to commit to using that policy and moving off of Neola policy. So I would recommend, after we discuss it tonight, that it be an action item for the next meeting to take action, and then the training can take place in November or possibly leak into December, and then could come to the board for final approval of the new policy.
So is the policy committee recommending we do this?
Yes.
You are recommending we do this? Okay. And is your intention to get us, the rest of the board, a copy or a link to these so we can review them, or is that not necessary?
Well, you're going to have to review them before you vote for them. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so
but we don't have a link yet because we haven't signed up. So we don't have anything yet. I mean, they're not going to give you the policies unless you sign up. So,
Right.
So
I think basically what I was waiting for, we are recommending it, but we still want to look at the exact cost comparison
Right.
between what we're paying now and what we're
So
paying
do you
then.
think by the next meeting you'll be able to?
Oh, yeah, they may have it already.
Okay, so you think in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever the next meeting is, 2 weeks, I guess, you'll be able to give us a cost and we'll be able to vote to move forward?
do you have the cost now?
Yeah, well, I don't remember what the upfront cost was. I believe that it was $11,000 to purchase the policy. You also purchase at the same time, not only all of the policies, of which there are 6 series. Currently, there are 10 series in the Neola policy. That's one of the reasons that it's smaller. It also includes the administrative guidelines, which has been a goal of mine for 2 years now to finish those guidelines. These would come finished. It would be probably two-hour selection meetings for myself and the attorneys to go through to make sure that the administrative guidelines match with the policy selections that the committee chooses. So it would be something that I would be doing after the policy is put in place. And it also comes with forms. So all of the different forms that we use that attach to the policies would come with it. And then also the subscription to board books. We currently use a product called Board Docs, that is functional, but not nearly as flexible as what board books can provide the district.
And who has looked at board docs? Has Veronica, that's, you guys are evaluating that? Because that's probably something will the policy committee look at that as well, or is that more of administration?
I think that's more administrative. I mean, it'll be nice for us because everything will be centralized. And but I think it'll also be nice for every administrator because everything will be centralized. So right now, where do you get the format to do this or do that or and so forth? So
Do you see any downside for doing this?
I only see upside because, again, it's our law firm and they see every day what goes on out there. So they've written these policies based on their experience. So I only see upside. I actually think it's going to cost us less in attorney fees because he's going to be able to go to the policy and go, I know that Troon's
Right.
going to back me on this policy.
Right.
Right now
I
he goes
also-
to it and goes, I better call Troon.
And Neola is more of, it's used like across the country.
Right.
Whereas Troon is kind of, I remember him saying, like that's developed for our state kind of, and
Mhm.
what he's working with on a regular basis. And they have examples from other schools. And I just felt like it was a win-win. Like, I can't imagine why we would look at the other.
What prompted this review of?
I
Policy
believe that I
providers.
prompted the review. And I was going to mention kind of a retroactive downside for me is that I've worked for the first year here in reestablishing our current policy.
Right.
The policy was 4 years old in terms of updates. So we got that done in the first year, but through that process, I realized through different communications with Troon that our policy didn't always match with our decision-making. Our policy didn't always match with current case law. In some cases, our policy has been too prescriptive and has boxed us into making decisions a certain way. And Troon has written their policy to be more board flexible. So the time that I spent in redeveloping our policy the first year that I was here was valuable in me being able to assess, is the Troon policy a good way for the board to go? I believe, and I would recommend that the board move in that direction for all of the reasons that Tim mentioned and just some more of the ones that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I think getting the administration thing done is a huge,
Yep.
I mean, even though you've spent some time maybe on Neola, I mean, not having to do that with these.
We
How
were
many- how
we were
many-
starting at zero with Neola ad regs, and it's a very difficult process to go through each one of those policies. If your board policy manual is 3 inches thick, your ad regs are going to be 6 inches thick. There'll be 2 books full because there's more detail in the ad regs, and that's administrative work. It's not work of the board. So to have that already part of the package is valuable. I do know in terms of numbers that you mentioned the annual renewal cost is $2,500. Right now, we currently spend about $3,000 with Neola for their annual renewal and updates.
And he did say that is only based on if they make a lot of changes. So he said the first year, yep, they made a lot of changes, but he said going forward, they don't expect to see a lot. So
How many other school districts have adopted Troon's policy book?
I don't know the exact number. Locally, he mentioned Adrian having recently moved to Troon policy.
He gave us a link to
Well,
a Jackson school.
yeah, one of the Jackson districts. But between now and when you make the decision, I can find out those numbers to see what they're doing. I would say that they're up and coming. They're only a couple of years old, but I know that Troon is the number one school legal firm in the state of Michigan, and I just feel like more and more are going to be taking advantage of the fact that the policies were written by the people who they work with on a daily basis.
Maybe we should have like a summary of, we probably should have had that tonight to discuss it, but for sure, before we vote, we should have a summary with the comparable costs and, what's all involved. I know there was more money for board docs and
I'm just
we
curious.
can even discuss again and then go vote the next time if we want. or
Right.
Whatever.
I like Ray and I like Trune and, all that good stuff, but I know that we just redid all of our policy. And I'm wondering how much we spent doing that.
We didn't spend any, it was just our time.
Oh, we didn't,
No, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you pay yearly and the updates come automatically. Nobody just ever updated anything
Right.
for 4
Okay.
years. So even though the updates were there, Neola had
We
them.
were still paying the amount. We were.
We just weren't implementing.
We weren't
implementing.
bringing them on
We weren't
board.
incorporating.
well,
Yeah,
I
right.
knew that the former board had, I guess, overhauled it, done their own thing. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to make sure we hadn't just sunk a bunch of money into Neola.
No, that's why I want to look more at the money. I think we should, but I do think it's a yearly fee. It seems
Okay.
like there's, with that book, what's it called?
Board book.
Board book. There was a fee involved in that, but we're also paying a fee for
Board docs.
board docs.
Yeah, I think that, I mean,
Money wise,
I think sounds good, but I think I'd like a little more data. And you said that, right? You said you're not quite ready. So if you get
Yep.
it to us by next meeting,
Yep.
fine. If not, get it
And
to
then
us and
an
we'll-
overview
sometime in
of the pros and
November.
cons and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Rick's
board's-
brilliant.
You're in a good position. You have a full policy manual that protects the district and guides the district. There's no urgency here, but I do believe that it's the best for the future of the district to move eventually. So make sure all of your questions are answered. I'll get you whatever details you need as we move through the decision making.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, I think that's all the reports, right? Very good, thanks to everyone. Discussion items. I guess we talked about no, we're gonna go to action items, sorry.
We've
No,
still got
we
the
still
course
have
guides.
Sutton compressors.
Oh, geez.
We got the TMS, THS,
read your own writing.
No, I can't remember.
course guides.
Right. Rick, can I talk about those?
Okay, so I mentioned in our update and email that county pupil accounting let us know that we needed to have board-approved course guides for each of our levels. In this case, the middle school, the elementaries, and the high school. And they gave us some samples of what other districts have used. So we made those based on those examples. They need to be board approved and part of the district attendance policy and making sure that pupil accounting has everything they need to say what kids are doing while they're in school. So there's available for you to take a look at, ask questions about. It's a pretty new requirement, so we may have to access information from pupil accounting at the county level to be able to answer your questions, but we developed these, we ran them by the pupil accounting person at the county level, and she thought that they looked like what we need to have.
I did read through them mostly. The high school one's really long, so I got through most of it. But one of the things I noticed is in the K through 4 is that in science we talk about Project Lead the Way, and in kindergarten, first and second, we just kind of had the same generic statement. And then once we got to third grade, we started talking about forces of motion, water, life cycle, and then fourth grade it was earth, plants, animals. So I guess I would have expected in the K through 2 areas to have a little more, maybe a sentence about what it is we're teaching. Every other grade had it, those didn't. So I did notice that. Maybe it can or can't happen, but that was one thing that I did notice. Secondly, I was impressed with the high school. I mean, we really offer a lot of options. And we're going to do more, but I mean, we talked about it in our strategic plan, the diversity and all the AP classes was very impressive.
Right, and comparably, obviously, the high school course catalog has been around for a long time. The new part of what we're talking about is the elementary stuff. So So this is our first go at putting together a K-4 course catalog. So
I did read through all of them in the high school. One is lengthy, but do we actually offer everything that's in this?
we don't offer everything all at once. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What's that mean?
Means we don't offer everything all at once.
Well, I understand.
So
Every year, does that mean
like-
every year or not
Well,
every moment in time?
so I could give you a whole diatribe on the scheduling process. Matter of fact, I've done that to not this group, but to this board before, many years ago. And basically, it's based on what students request. So when we have 95 seniors that request English 12, that's only going to be 3 sections. So then, but we have another 60 that ask for English honors, because we only are capped at 34 in class, well, that's going to be 2 sections. And so when you start looking at all the classes as it falls down, it's all based on student interest, on what they need, what they require, and what they're interested in. So when our course selection catalog is opened every year, students are able to look at that and go, this is what I want. But when you get, and these are the classes that I'm requesting, but if only 8 kids ask for AP chemistry, it's not a class that we can honestly run, because there's just not enough students to justify one teacher running 8. That's probably, by the time the school year starts, down to 6 or 5, and it drives up lower foundational classes, their enrollment, where like a freshman English class that really should be down in the low 20s is now banged up into the high 30s, because we've got a AP class with 8, 5, 6 kids. So it's a big puzzle. Stop me off someday, I'll show you the big board. It's all fun and games till somebody starts.
Yeah, I was surprised to see like we offer guitar, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you'd have to have a certain amount of kids.
In a lot of the art class, not art classes, but performing art classes, we adjust with that as far as expectations in classes. So we know that 16 in a guitar class, that's a good number, and we can make that work. So a lot goes into it.
I would imagine too, with the retirement of Ann Peak and what Mr. McDowell brings to play, we may not be offering like accounting and some of these business courses, because that isn't his.
So some of those things have kind of gone to the side, but if you think about it, most accounting software is all online now anyway, so you can really learn a lot of that in that way. Most of everything that's happening today is computer science.
Mm-hmm.
So programming, the languages, game design, things like that. Yeah, what Mr. McDowell's bringing is much more in line with what we need to be giving our students an experience.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what they're asking for.
And what they're asking for, absolutely, yeah, true.
And this will change soon, right? You'll be putting new options together, right? This is something you review every year so that you have it ready to start scheduling in
Yeah, we'll start
January,
looking
February.
at that, yeah, but it's also based on available staff too.
Do you offer any online substituting? Like if you have a low number, is there an online option for AP chemistry or?
Yes, I mean,
Some
we
dual
can do
enrollment.
some of those things
Dual
through
enroll,
TVA.
Okay.
We can, either TVA or dual enrollment.
Dual enrollment.
Especially
through
with,
colleges.
So you'd be a regular student with all your classes here and you have that one class you could do at the,
TVA
okay,
or a dual enrollment class and get college credit.
okay.
When do you open up for the students for scheduling?
Oh,
next
that
year?
won't be till spring, later on. We'll start talking about it right at first of the year. And by, our goal is always to have a schedule before we leave. We like to have schedules in the kids' hands before we leave at the end of the year. Always a goal, but every year seems to be somebody who wants to throw some curveballs at us, and we have to kind of step back, but we attempt to get that done.
So really, you're asking us, the only thing that's really different is that we've never had a young 5 through 4 course guide, and that's going to help us with pupil accounting along with what we already have.
Right, yeah. This is the elementary, middle school stuff has just come at us this year as a, hey, you've got to have this.
I think it's great that we have that because I think would be great for parents to see, the
Yeah, I think it's
choices
awesome.
and what options are. And it was great for me personally to read what was available at Project Lead the Way at middle school level so that you're knowledgeable about it and parents can see that. And they do get a copy of this, or they can go online and get it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it'll be something that you're going to be approving every
Yeah.
year. So you'll be able to see it develop as our understanding of what needs to be in it develops. But this is compliance at this point.
Well, I'd like to understand that K through 2 on science before next meeting.
Maybe this would be a good time while the principals are here to address that. I'm sure they know, they're sitting right there. Why don't we ask them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to put them on the spot, so.
Yeah, let's just wait,
I can certainly get an email in the next 2 weeks. I mean, we don't care about Dennis, but, these people are much nicer. I mean, hey, if you know, step up if you want to send us an email.
I care about you, Dennis.
However you want to handle it.
Thanks, Greg. So the Project Lead the Way program, the launch program is for kindergarten through 5th grade. So there's different modules that they teach within that. And so they might not teach the same ones every year. So there's a different variety that they can use. So K through 2, like right now, they're all learning about forces in motion and things. It's all different at the grade levels, but it's the same topic. So what they
That's
can
good
do
to
is they
know.
could add those specific topics that they're teaching. this
Yeah,
year.
we saw that on 3rd and 4th. I just didn't, it just didn't get added on the others. So,
No problem.
yeah, I think this is a
Megan,
2 minute edit.
do all the kids get Project Lead the Way then at the lower
That's how they're
levels?
doing their
Yes.
science.
Okay.
It appeared that way in the
So that's a
book.
change then. We have,
Yeah, they do this.
okay. Prior to this year though, there hasn't been a big science emphasis in K through 2. And it's partly because you don't have the tools necessarily. I mean, they may have a leaf collection or something you can see. They don't read terribly well, so it's a little harder to teach science at that level. It's more observational, hands-on things. May not have a written.
Well, whatever it is, I'd like to see it in there because I would think this is a marketing tool we can use for prospective parents looking to come to our schools, right? And that's the most influential time to get children in our schools, right? So let's show them what great things we're going to be teaching and how much better we are than everybody else. I see that as a great marketing tool, actually.
Ready?
Anybody else? All right, compressors.
I'm going to ask Mr. Hawkins to come help me with this, but so at a previous board meeting, he brought to us the Sutton compressor replacement. You all have a summary in front of you with the last bid that we received. You can see between Service 2.0 through Contractor B, those were the 3 original bids. You can see a wide range of pricing there. That concerned all of us in the facilities committee. So we asked Mr. Hawkins to go out and get another bid. That's Contractor C. We are keeping contractors' names except for Service 2.0. You can find that out through Mr. Hawkins, but we would like to kind of, because of the wide range of quotations, keep the names of the companies somewhat quiet, except for Service 2.0, who I believe is the recommendation. So I'm going to let Tom explain the recommendation.
Yeah, so as Lynn had said, there was quite a range. We went out initially to get the 3 quotes, and there's one that's pretty low, and you can see on my recommendation in there that part of that was concerned that they missed something. Something wasn't right in that, so we went out and reached out to get another quote to see if that aligned better with the other quotes. My recommendation is Service 2.0 simply because they're a known quantity. We know the quality of the work. I've worked with them for a long time, and it lines up with some of the other quotes there. The other one that's a little bit lower is a contractor that I reached out to that I don't have any history with. So taking them on in a bigger project like this is not something I would rather do. I'd rather go with somebody that we do know and go from there.
Did you discuss what contractor being why it was so low? Did they have any comment or?
I talked to him a little bit. There was an item missing. He didn't have a crane in his, so I'd asked him how is he gonna lift these compressors to the roof, if that was what he was gonna do. He was providing some of his own equipment in that. I did talk to him about what was going on, but he didn't really have much to offer other than the fact that was his quote, so.
I would like to know the names of the companies, because, I mean, we're a public entity and everybody has a right to know. So I'd like to know who they are. It looks weird to me. It just does contractor A, B, C, and D. Just doesn't seem,
It's actually common practice to show contractor A, B, C versus the chosen. But,
not in my practice, I haven't seen that.
well, in large building practice.
Well,
So
I
Tom,
haven't.
if you want to share that, that's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I can share with you the different contractors. The contractor A is Haley Mechanical, contractor B is Adrian Mechanical, and contractor C is Wadsworth. Other three.
Contractor B is Ader Mechanical?
Yes.
And his thing was he said his price was good, right?
That's what he talked about.
I've used them before and they've always done good work for me. They've been around forever, so I don't know.
I've used Adrian, I've used him in other work as well. So,
There is a concern because of the gap, right, that we could
Yes.
receive change orders.
yes, ma'am.
So if, for example, the equipment that they plan to use, which, I mean, that is a large cost to a bid, for some reason is not feasible when they get to the work site, that we may have a change order. So it's a risk question.
But we don't have to accept the change order. So, I mean, it's $10,000 difference. So I think we need to go back and narrow them down on, make sure they're apples to apples.
I think we've asked Tom to get 4 quotes, and he's gotten 4 quotes and given us a recommendation.
So he said there was an item missing, but he didn't tell you how much to add that item?
I'm
On
sorry.
the contractor B, I asked if you asked why there was such a low amount, and you said there was an item missing.
It was the crane. And
Where other companies are renting a crane, he's not, or he didn't include it?
He didn't include it in his, I didn't see it in his verbiage, so I just wanted to make sure if that was what was missing, if there was some kind of disparity. And obviously, it's not gonna make up $10,000, but, just kind of going through what he had on his list, it just didn't make any sense to me. So he said that he was using his own equipment on that, so. All of them came out. This was, they all come out and look at it. They got the same piece of equipment. Looked at the same piece of equipment and went over it.
So they're all quoting on the same compressor,
Yes.
Same size compressor, same.
same make and model.
Look at it.
Do they all buy the same, from the same manufacturer?
It's a train compressor.
Train, so they're all train compressors.
Right. It's gonna be only a compressor. So they all got to see the same scope.
What does our policy say, Tim? Do we don't have to accept the lowest, correct?
No, we don't
No,
have.
no
to.
school
But it's
does.
not required, but there are some qualifying conditions, and Mr. Hawkins mentioned a couple of those, that familiarity, quality of past work, relationship, those sorts of things can sway your decision-making.
Where are each one of these companies' headquarters located?
One Service 2.0 are out of Toledo. Haley's out of Ann Arbor. And obviously Adrian's out of Adrian.
So just, one concern that we had when we reviewed it as the facilities committee was that were we getting a high bid because of the amount of work that's available currently, and sometimes familiar partners will overbid in the hopes that, they don't have to turn down a bid, but they don't get the bid. That's why we asked Tom to go out and get another bid from another contractor to see what came through. So if the fourth bid had come in closer to contractor B, then we'd be having the conversation of going to contractor B. If it had contractor A, I think might have had still some discussion since it's an unknown entity to us. But that's why the facilities committee requested that fourth bid was, would we see it come in, 13, 14,000 and say, okay, that kind of helps us understand maybe whose bid is most reasonable.
And the fourth one came in higher.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is placing the compressors. We're not replacing the whole unit. It's just the compressors, correct?
And some dryers. Smaller pieces of it.
I mean, you can buy 2 units for $22,000. I just put one on that was only 12,000, and it was a big unit to take up 8,500 square feet. So I'm in the opinion of go with contractor B. They're a local company. So
Well, I think we have it as an action item, so we could see what the vote comes out for Mr. Hawkins' recommendation.
I guess, for me personally, the first question I asked was, do we ask him why it's so low? And if he says, well, I have my own crane, that crane still, I guess, costs money, but that's still $10,000. That's big. That's not a cost of a crane. We're not buying a crane. We're just using it, right? They're just renting it. That's what, 40%?
I don't typically go back and talk to a lot of people about their quotes. They get when they quote it, even if it's high, I don't go back and tell Service 2.0, you need to start coming down.
Right. No, you shouldn't.
They're going to need to bring their cost, and this is what their cost is, and that's what it is.
I think the danger is if we continue to go back.
No, we can't go back down.
Yeah, there's that issue. There's if we can, I'll still sit on it, decide not to act on it tonight. If we act on it at the next board meeting, that's still enough time to meet the 30-day requirement that most bids have for it. So
That's fine, but what more information would we want for next meeting?
We've asked all of those questions to Tom already as the facilities committee. That is the purpose of having committees. So while I appreciate Mr. Simpson's viewpoint, I think it's still important we put it as an action item and
Vote.
But the facilities committee did its due diligence by looking and seeing that there were 3 very different bids and asked for another one to see where it would land to give us some indication. So, I come from a world of very, very detailed quotes where I could go through line item by line item because we're building a $2 billion plant. But I think the contractors that we're speaking of, to continue to go back and say, can you break out your quote more for me? Can you help me understand your 12,000? We already think it's low. We're asking them to do business and we might still decide that we don't pick them. And so that's also wasteful to that company, I think, to continue to ask those questions. So, I understand I understand your questions and we ask those as the facilities committee. I would say if we choose not to appreciate a committee's motion and movement, then perhaps we need to review the whole committee structure.
So, but it is a recommendation of the facilities committee to choose Service 2.0.
Yes.
That is a recommendation of the committee.
That was our recommendation at the previous board meeting. The board asked for more quotes. They've come back. It appears reasonable. We are moving to suggest Service 2.0.
And much of the reason for Mr. Hawkins' recommendation for the bid quote is based on his confidence. His experience with working with contractors and knowing that whatever work gets done isn't going to create more work for his people or for us down the line. So that's the thinking process that Mr. Hawkins goes through and that honestly most of our directors go through. It's not always a financial decision. That's financially for the board to decide if that sways the expense of the difference in the quotes to his recommendation.
We
I
put our
would back
trust,
Tom on his recommendation
right,
based on his confidence in the work being done properly.
we put our trust in Tom.
Any other?
And I don't think it's not putting trust in Tom, okay? And I hate it worded that way, okay? But, because I do trust Tom. But we have a $10,000 difference in price here. And the $10 difference in price is a company that's located in Lenawee County that has a good reputation in Lenawee County. And we're going to not give them the work. They pay taxes in Lenawee County. None of these other companies do. So that's just my point, and I will tell you, I'm a no vote because of that, so.
No, let's get it on the vote then.
So
I do see your point. I brought that up in the committee.
We discussed it in the committee.
Okay, any other discussion? What, are we going to take action? Is it going to do a motion?
Yes, but you have other action items as well.
Yeah, we'll move on to action items. That was our last discussion item.
Yes.
All right,
That's okay.
any other discussion?
Thanks, Tom.
All right,
Good, Tom.
Thank you.
thanks, Sam.
Yeah. all right, now, the donation from the Kiwanis Club.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Hang on. I hereby move to accept with thanks the $850 cash donation from the Kiwanis Club of Tecumseh for the purchase of calculators in Stacy Kleinau's
That's close enough.
room.
That's how I would say it.
Support.
We moved and seconded to accept the donation from the Kiwanis Club. Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Hi.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Chair votes aye with thanks to the Kiwanis Club. Motion is approved.
Ready?
Do we have an action item on the compressors?
I move to award the Sutton Compressor Project to Service 2.0 not to exceed $22,447 in expenditure.
Second,
Moved and seconded to accept the bid of $22,447 for the compressors at Sutton School. Any other discussion?
Yeah,
I wanna
do.
say
mean,
one
I think
thing, too.
what I didn't really understand in the committee, in our committee meeting, was it was the exact same compressor. I didn't, I mean, it makes sense, but I mean, when we had that discussion last week, that really didn't revolve in my head that it's good. Everybody's got, it's, you know, it's not like I went and got a price on a Chevy here and a Ford over there and a Dodge. It's the same, it's the exact same unit. But that being said, given the fact that Service 2.0 does so much of our work for us, and they're familiar with the other systems we have here and how they hook up with each other and they're integrated, I can see the point to stick with them, even though it does cost a little more money. And they've done a good job for my job when I was still working here. Service 2.0 does an excellent job of working with our people when they install stuff. So that helps a lot in the time when it gets to be the time when something goes kaput. They can get on the phone and talk to our people and have them troubleshoot it first. And then we don't get billed for that. So that has to be weighed in there somewhere too.
it has a value, for sure.
It does. But I mean, if I was shopping myself, and they said, I'll sell you a half-ton Chevy brand new for $10,000 less than the Ford, I'd buy the Chevy.
Yeah. But like Tom was saying, if they miss stuff and we're getting change orders and it brings it up to another even 6,000.
Yeah.
I'll take the guarantee.
We don't have to accept the change order. So both
Well, then
parties
we
have
don't
to
have
accept the change.
compressors.
Right.
That's something that's reasonable.
Then we don't do
Suzanne, if you have a
business with
comment?
them.
Yes, I agree with what Greg said. I didn't really I got the feeling in the meeting that Adrian Mechanical wants to come here and work again, and they haven't been working here much. And I agree with him 100% that we shouldn't put all our eggs in one basket, and we really got to look at companies that are local. And that I want to go with what Tom says.
Point of order.
I agree with.
We have a problem that we've made a motion and seconded, so we have to vote.
We're gonna
I didn't
vote.
say we're going to anything.
Okay,
Let me finish, Lynn. So
But we had
basically,
discussion.
We also have a discussion.
yeah, we can have another
Okay.
discussion.
All right.
But basically, I definitely want to take Tom's recommendation, and I get what they're saying about, but I also think that we need to open our eyes and try to work with some local companies too. I mean, there's plenty of work here to go around, I think.
All right. Roll call vote. Thank you. Trustee Lewis?
Clarification, this is to accept the bid from Service 2.0.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
No.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion is approved to accept the bid of Service 2.0.
I'm sorry, who made that motion
I did.
and who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess that's all the action items, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Consent agenda.
I hereby move to approve the consent agenda, which includes the following items: minutes from the regular board meeting of October 11th, 2021, and minutes from the closed session of October 11th, 2021.
Second?
We move to second to accept the consent agenda. Any other comments or questions on that? Roll call vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Consent agenda is approved. Superintendents report.
Just an update on a few things. First of all, the playground update, I mentioned to you in my update, but for the community, the playground equipment at Patterson and Harris Park that is scheduled for spring installation. We have nice coming soon signs on the
Great.
campuses of both of those buildings. So I'm guessing that the kids are starting to get a little excited about the coming soon. They certainly don't seem to be too bothered about the lack of the equipment. They're enjoying the large playgrounds on those campuses, but they'll be really excited in the spring when those get put up. So you can see those signboards on those campuses. Vic in communications has been very busy creatively recently in that he's worked with Tecumseh Middle School to develop their parent newsletter and format, very similar to the high school format. And then as we discussed the development of that, he asked, was this a format that we could use to develop a district newsletter? So he's in the process of working on developing, is it an 8-page newsletter that we're working with the printing company connected with the Tecumseh Herald. And this would be an external newsletter to our families, but would also reach the community
I love that.
So how would we get that to the community?
through the newspaper, through the Tecumseh Herald circulation.
So we
Be
would
like
mail
an
it
insert.
to their list? Or is it,
I believe that it's a separate mailing.
Yeah, so they can do saturated mailing, so they can take care of all the stuff for us if you print, do anything like that, and if we go saturated mailing route, there's options where we can mail to every single person in the area. That obviously, if it's a monthly, cost, that's a lot of money, because it's probably, $3,500 per newsletter per month, so that's gonna be a lot for the rest of the school year. So if we release it digital, which we can, maybe we do 2,000 homes. And I know that doesn't sound right, because maybe Tricia will get it, but Chris won't. But it is available online. So, but this could be aimed at a select area too. We can also put it in the next door neighbor's 20 houses if we wanted to, and that's all they can get. So we have options, but saturated is probably the best way to do it.
Saturated means everybody.
Yes, to a degree. If you have 8,500 copies, I think that covers Tecumseh.
I know
Like I said,
that,
that's about
I know that
35,
other school districts send their newsletter to anyone in their, like Britain sends one to everybody to Britain mailing address, even if you're in this Tecumseh or Britain school system.
I think that's roughly 8,500 households in Tecumseh. You can get that. But I think that price could be about $3,500 or $3,600. You do that monthly.
And are you thinking this is a monthly newsletter?
I think that's the intended plan, but since it's a kind of a hybrid release, digital and print, saturated mail could be the best way to go, maybe 2,000, 4,000 copies. But until I tell them exactly what we want to do, I don't have a price for it, unfortunately.
Well, and part of the decision-making process here is the fact that Victor came in really without a marketing budget. So we're trying to make decisions economically, but we want to be promoting ourselves, and not just to our own families. We want to be promoting ourselves within the community,
Yeah, I think.
surrounding districts. He's also working on a pamphlet for real estate agents to be able to
Great.
have. So there are a few different things in the offing that we're working on, promotion. And then we had a staff member actually ask, could we do an internal newsletter as well? So we'll start working on those things. When I mentioned it to strategic planning, those facilitators said, that's a great idea, but they know that'll come up as part of strategic plan. So that will check one of the strategy boxes when we move on to the implementation phase of the strategic plan. So trying to be a little bit ahead of the curve on that. I know the board is eager to see that shameless self-promotion from the district, and it's an important tool that Victor actually has a nice background in. So
I think it's gonna be needed in the next months.
yeah,
Right.
yep, and being able to communicate the things that we want to do and the things that we are doing is going to be important. So we'll probably talk about it at the next budget committee to give him a budget so that we can then make decisions about how he can spend.
Okay.
Let's see. I think I had one more. Oh, school vans. This is kind of the joke item on the agenda. There still are no school
There's
vans
Matt.
The whole field of trucks over there.
available. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention is that you can go through manufacturers and direct order items. And these sorts of vans would be available to order. You might not get them for a year or 18 months. However, the pricing would be retail.
Right.
And it wouldn't be in the consortium bid that if you wait long enough, you'll get a much better deal. So I
What's
can
another 2
feel the
years?
veins throbbing in Kelly's head when I say retail.
Hopefully not.
But I just wanted to mention that is a choice that the
Kelly.
board could
I
make.
don't think that's
If
a
we're
good choice.
really itching for vans, there's probably a way to get
I think
something
because you're
ordered.
a school district, there might be some opportunity with manufacturers.
I would think the price until this whole mess
I
we're in
think,
is
I
over
think
with
right
is
now
gonna
with
be-
everything going on, even then,
Price
it's
and
going to be
availability.
But
difficult.
explain your comment. What's that mean? Does that mean the manufacturers might be willing to?
Yeah, the MSRP is not the manufacturer's
Right,
cost or price. That's after you add all the dealer and
right.
things into it. Now, the consortium, I'm not sure where they land, but vehicle pricing is a very complex model. And if it's something that, I'm not sure which manufacturer we were looking at. I know my manufacturer does not make vans of that
No.
concept.
And I'm hearing too, the manufacturers, if they have a chip and you got a $80,000 vehicle versus a $50,000, which vehicle would you buy?
No, that's not true.
I know I ordered a truck on the 19th of August and it hasn't even been built yet, so the order hasn't been filled.
Order.
Well,
How about
I
we
would love
just
to
keep
go
it
into
on
the
the agenda?
complexities
Right.
of the
for when times
Like
change.
I said, what's another 3 years, so.
Right.
Yep.
Well, there is, I mean, I don't like that comment because 3 years is a long time. That's why I want it kept on the agenda, not because I expect anything to happen right now. Anyone of the people at this table who understand that situation the best, I am the one sitting in that chair. I'll confidently say that today.
Right.
But, you know, we have to keep looking.
Yeah.
You never know. It could be that they have to keep lines open, so they make those vans because they need less chips and they don't produce. It's a very complex ecosystem. So let's just keep it on the radar. If,
I don't think anybody's letting it off the radar.
Nobody's
yeah,
just,
but
we
I
have
think to
be-
keep it on the radar, let's
But
keep
just
it in
putting
the
it-
superintendent's
We
report.
have to be reasonable about it, though.
Yeah.
Right, but just talking about it here for 5 minutes doesn't, actually, I mean, at what point do we say, well, let's test the water?
We are watching the consortium, I assume.
Get a
Okay, you
price
are
for a new
watching,
one.
okay, that's,
can.
what-
Perfect.
Yeah.
what's
So
that?
if
Get a
quarterly
price
it
for a
comes
new
up.
one.
We could go through the manufacturer direct ordering process and see what.
See what the
what's
price
available.
is.
The-
Right,
This
won't
is-
can't hurt
The
anything.
budget previously was 28.5 per vehicle.
Right.
Well, we'd have to bid it because it's over the state bid threshold. So even going through the manufacturers, you'd have to bid that, which is why you want to go through a consortium, because all that's been done.
Right, because they get the fleet
Right.
rate.
Right, but the consortium isn't the
manu.
They've already done the bid on the statewide level.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's
so
designed
tell me
for
how that
this.
process works. They've done the bid, but you go to it and they say it's not available?
Correct, that's what it's at the time.
And you
It's
watch
not
this on a
available.
regular basis?
I periodically
Yeah.
check it, yes.
Yeah, so as long as we're
Just keep
looking at it
watching.
quarterly, you never know what can happen.
Right, Toyota might start making them.
No,
You can get us one.
So the
Okay,
consortium goes out and bids everything, or they just have contracts with people?
Well, it's a bid at the statewide level on a contract basis. So the state says, hey,
Right.
you know, we're gonna open this up for fans. And then whoever wants to then submits their bid to the state, and the state awards the contract then on a statewide level.
so previously when we bid it, were they dealerships or manufacturers?
Pardon?
Were they dealerships or manufacturers that were bidding?
Currently on the MI deal site, it's a dealership
Okay.
out of Novi, I believe.
So they've been approved to be a
Correct.
vendor on this consortium.
Absolutely,
So, because they're not bidding this out all the time.
correct. It's not a continuous bid.
Right.
In fact, those bid documents are out on the site, and then you can go verify them and show them to your board and say, yep, see, this is the process, this is the award contract.
Let's just, I understand, like I said, I'm fully aware of the inventory situation in the automotive industry today. And I'm also fully aware of the production situation. But let's keep it on the radar because I'm like Becky, I was behind the Blissfield Royals van at the cross-country meet. And I think it's kind of, I'll say odd that we as to come see don't have a van like that. So let's just keep it. If the whole answer is, I mean, you take it off your superintendent's report if it comes back, you can't find anything on the bid, but let's, you know, I feel confident Kelly's checking that, but let's keep that because it is something that was voted on. So we need to keep
Perfect.
informed.
anything else?
No,
Okay. All right, we do have some items, next agenda, we'll have some good news. We'll discuss we'll have a presentation at the next meeting from the Building Futures Committee, which is great. We're looking forward to that. Will we be ready to talk about pneumatic controls? Are you working on that? I guess, Lynn, I should ask you, are you working on pneumatic controls?
I mean, I think that's still,
It's definitely an issue we need to address. If that's something we want to address now.
No, it's been
We'll address
listed.
it in
You tell
committee.
us.
yeah. I
So-
mean, I don't, do you want to address it at the next board meeting? I would say no because we don't have a facilities committee meeting before that meeting.
Okay, then we'll take that off.
A
And
question.
then we'll have reports, we'll have an update from the athletic department. We will have a curriculum committee and a budget meeting before the next meeting.
we could possibly be changing the venue of the meeting to the cafetorium. I'm going to reach out to the members of the Building Futures Committee. If we have a large number of them coming, I think a larger space is going to be necessary.
Good idea.
So just so that you're aware, we could be next door.
Well, we'll certainly list that on the agenda.
It would be listed, yes.
Okay. All right, now it's time for closing. It's a public comment. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Please.
Good evening.
You want to just step forward so maybe?
I think the microphone's right here. Yeah.
Oh, well, there's a microphone there. Sorry. I apologize.
No podium.
Sure.
If you're comfortable there, that's fine.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Gramis. I'm a parent and a student in Tecumseh Schools. I would like to address the board regarding concerns regarding COVID-19 testing and vaccinations that are currently being administered or planned in the public school settings. On September 24th, Michigan Radio, NPR ran a story regarding the use of Michigan National Guard to assist or administer COVID-19 tests at schools. And it appears this is actually happening as parents have reported the following. On Sunday, October 17th, parents of students at Handy Middle School in Bay City, Michigan, received a phone call from the interim principal reminding them that the new test-to-stay procedures were to begin on Monday, October 18th. Among other information, parents were informed that the Michigan National Guard will begin assisting in the test-to-stay program at Handy Middle School. On October 20th, 2021, the White House released a fact sheet regarding COVID-19 vaccines for kids 5 to 12. The fact sheet uses the following language. Our planning efforts mean that we will be ready to begin getting shots in arms in the days following a final CDC recommendation. It also states, related to vaccinations in schools, the administration will work with states and local partners to make vaccination sites available at schools. And for those schools who need extra help, the administration will launch a new effort to match school districts with vaccine providers who will provide on-site vaccination clinics for their students in local communities. I'm here tonight to express my concerns over these activities taking place in a school setting. Both testing and vaccination should be individual choices made in consultation with an individual's healthcare provider. This is not the responsibility of an educational institution. I would encourage the board to not allow Tecumseh Schools to participate in the Test to Stay program or any similar program where COVID-19 testing is administered on site. I would encourage the board to not allow any entity, government or otherwise, on site at schools to administer or assist in any COVID-19 testing or any type of vaccination program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Now it's time for board member comments, discussions.
Tony, I have a couple of good news things.
Okay.
I shared this with Superintendent Hillerly on Friday, but wanted to share it publicly. So I was here in the high school on Friday and I saw both Mr. Niles and Mr. Dolson practice really great leadership in the high school for their staff and their students. I think it's another one of our pride points that we recently talked about our staff. And I was pleased to see such leadership towards the end of the week on probably was not such an easy week after homecoming and all of that. So just wanted to appreciate them for that. And then also for the middle school cross country team, Mrs. Whelan took that team on kind of mid-season and they had excellent results. And so I just wanted to formally thank Mrs. Whelan for taking on that team and leading it through most of the season. So.
All right. Thank you, Lynn, Ms. Davis. Anybody else?
Well, just briefly tag along what Tim and Suzanne said. I think when we do bids, as much as we can, I think we do need to hire local contractors. It makes sense. I mean, they're our friends and neighbors around here. So if we don't, we should make them a priority.
All right.
I guess I would like to see, I know the strategic planning starting out and they're talking about data driven and I think they mean more like input driven. And the numbers person that I am, have been wanting data for a long time and I would love to hear reports from Victor and I guess that's his name, right? Victor?
Mhm.
Okay. Didn't know if he went by Vic or something like, but anyways, I just would like more, and you know, what the ladies put together about the, you know, the aligning the curriculum and they're all, I mean, I didn't know they all taught science at the same time when kindergarten through fourth or fifth and I guess I would just like more routine presentations from different groups like that that are working on curriculum and that are working on ways to track data. I mean, I guess I worry about kids that were lost and got behind because of COVID. I've not seen one single piece of data that says that, hey, yeah, Suzanne got behind, but look, she's catching up now. She got behind in math and English, but she didn't get behind in,
Right, and I know, just.
So that's all. We keep talking about it, but I never see any results. We never, and I would love for Kelly to come up with just one piece of paper that basically shows us, or maybe three, a few, maybe four, but just something that's more simple that we can look at that would give kind of a history and that yes, we are trending in the right direction. Right? I just
Certainly, in my opinion on that, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly test scores, right? We do a lot of testing, and I want to make sure that when we do that testing, we get the results back. We present that data to the board,
Absolutely.
right? And we should see that data, and then the other metrics, and we'll probably out of the strategic plan come up with metrics. But I can tell you for sure, me personally, testing scores is a metric that we don't have to wait for the strategic plan to tell us we want to see.
We know we want to see it.
Well, and what we've talked about a few times, we know that when we've changed the names of the schools, that we've lost some of that state data. We've heard that. But we're a district. We should have that data.
Right. We should have all our own testing.
We shouldn't be counting
That's
on the
right.
state to provide us with that data.
We even had our math department kind of working on putting together,
Like regular reports from them.
right, like
Yeah,
how they would
absolutely.
analyze it. And I mean, I'm terrible at that kind of stuff. But I know you can get it into the computer and you can get it laid out nice and it calculates for you nice. And
If we're doing our job, those data and those test scores are another great marketing tool. for
Absolutely.
everything. So if we're not doing our job right, the data tells us what we need to
Right.
change.
Nice chart.
Data-driven culture.
Maybe
Colored
moving ahead,
in
we
color.
could just have regular reports from different departments based on the data that they have,
that's a really good idea.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Because I have one thing. I'm now closing on my 10th month here. I am just amazed at the work that this board is doing. We have so many committees. I never dreamed until I got elected to this board and in this position, how many committees, how much work they're doing. And I just want to say thanks to the board, right? We've come a long way. These committees, there's a lot of work there. And I didn't know as a public, John Q. Public, when I got into this, how much it was. Certainly, we rely on Rick, but the committee work that this board is doing is extensive, and you're doing a great job, I think, for that. All right? That's all I have tonight. Anybody else? All right, now pursuant to Public Act 267, Section 8H, to consider material exempt from discussion, disclosure by state federal statute, we have to go into a closed session for consideration of a student disciplinary action. So the time is 8:24. I'll accept a motion to go into that closed session.
So moved. Oh, Second.
Second. We
Second.
moved and seconded to go into closed session for consideration of student disciplinary action. Roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin.
Aye.
Trustee Simpson.
Aye.
Trustee Moore.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Davis.
Aye.
Trustee Brooks.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 8:24. We're going into closed session.
For stuff?
Yeah.
You got a little
Right.
there.
Yeah.
All right, pursuant to Public Act 267, we are returning from closed session where we were in consideration of student disciplinary action. I'll accept a motion. It is now 10 PM. I'll accept a motion to come back into open session.
So moved.
Support.
Move second to come back into open session. Roll call vote. Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Tomlin?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're now in open session. Pursuant to the discussion we had in closed section, we do have an action item. Mrs. Brooks?
Our resolution is a regular board meeting of the board was held in the library on the 25th day of October 2021, 7 o'clock in the evening. The administration has recommended that a student whose identity is known to the board, further known as the student, be expelled for violating actions number 19 and number 28 of the Student Code of Conduct. The school administrators notified the student's parents of the specific charge underlying the discipline recommendation, as well as the date, time, and place of the disciplinary hearing. Pursuant to the request of the student's parents and as authorized by Section 8H and 8B of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.268B, the disciplinary hearing was conducted in a closed session meeting of the board. The hearing afforded the student and the student's representatives an opportunity to respond to the charge and to present pertinent information for the board's consideration. The board has carefully considered all of the evidence produced in the student discipline hearing. Now therefore be it resolved that a preponderance of the evidence establishes that on 10/18/21, the student violated number 19 and number 28 of the Student Code of Conduct in violation of Section 19 and 28 of the Student Code Book. Based on careful consideration of all of the following factors, the board determines that expulsion is warranted: the student's age, the student's disciplinary hearing, the student whether the student has a disability, the seriousness of the behavior, whether the behavior posed a safety risk, whether restorative practices are a better option, and whether lesser interventions would address the behavior were discussed. The student is expelled from the district and eligible for reinstatement at the end of the school year. During the time of the expulsion, the student may not be on school grounds or attend any functions at the district without prior written approval from appropriate administration. The student may be eligible for reinstatement at the end of the first semester if the student demonstrates successful participation in an appropriate counseling program approved by the superintendent, establishes that the student has not engaged in conduct during the period of expulsion that may be viewed by the board as detrimental to the student's continuing education at the district. The student establishes that they have completed 15 hours of community service. The student demonstrates to the satisfaction of the board that the student received educational instruction and cooperatively participated in an educational program during the period of expulsion. The district will offer the opportunity for the student to enroll in the TVA. Consistent with sections 11A and 1311.1 of the revised school code, the board finds that the interests of the district are served by this resolution. The administrators are directed and authorized to implement all terms of this resolution and are delegated all necessary authority to do so. All resolutions and part of resolutions that conflict with the provisions of this resolution are rescinded.
Do we have the support?
I need a motion to support the resolution.
Support.
No, we need a motion to
Oh.
support it.
I make a motion to support it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to support the resolution written by Trustee Brooks. We'll have a roll call vote. Trustee Tomlin?
Support.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Davis?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The resolution is carried. That is the end of our agenda for the evening, so I will accept the motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
The motion is second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.